But dude, you always do the intro.
But I'm just like, I'm not feeling it today.
But like, no, like you do the intro, I do the outro. That's like the deal.
Why don't we just switch for like 1 week?
Because I don't even know what I would say.
Dude, it's not that hard. You could just do something like, what's going on, Titans? Welcome back to another episode of Daily Titan Podcast, or DT Pod for short. On today's episode, we're going to be going over volume 117, issue number 6 of the Daily Titan student newspaper. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Beyond the Conversation with David Diggs that recently happened. We're also going to be going over a new story featuring Derek Tran ceremonial swearing on the Cal State Fullerton campus. We'll also be covering an opinion on resale culture, as well as going over the women's tennis game. See, it's not that hard. You just do something like that. And then, but you got to make sure you introduce people.
Yeah, what about the introductions?
Yeah, it can be something like, by the way, my name is Kabeer Kansara. I'm your news design editor. And then you toss it over to the next person. They could be like,
okay, wait, and then I could be like, what's up? I'm Jayden Lovelady, and I'm the opinion editor.
See, and it's not that hard.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, but now I already did, so we don't have to do it again.
Okay, let's get into the episode.
Okay, for sure.
Dude, did you hear that? Like, the first Beyond the Conversation happened on Thursday?
No, what did I miss?
Dude, you missed the story of tonight. Except for it's not tonight. It was Thursday, and I know that because I was there.
No way.
Yeah.
So who's there?
David Diggs.
Really?
Yeah. He was the guest of the first Beyond the Conversation of the semester.
Wow, what an honor.
I know, right?
So what did he speak about while he was there?
He touched on a lot of really like cool topics, to be honest. He talked about he's from the Bay, and he talked a lot about how growing up and coming from like, you know, Oakland, I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah.
How a lot of people, like, it's a very creative atmosphere, and there's a lot of people who, you know, like work in that and work multiple jobs while trying to do a creative career, I guess. But there's not really an industry up there for them. And he kind of talked about not the culture shock, but like his transition coming down to LA and then New York on Broadway and stuff like that. And, you know,
those are two very really like art-centered places to be. Yeah.
I mean, if I had to sum it up, like he touched on a lot of different topics, but if I had to sum it up to one, like just a lot of like underrepresentation in the industry and how the industry is so different all over the map for creatives, like no matter what it is. And that was a really interesting thing to hear, like someone I personally look up to, like talk about, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm a big fan of theater, and I'm a big fan of like him as a rapper too. So it was cool to see him, because like I know a lot of people know him from Hamilton, but like I genuinely listened to clipping, so that was like really cool for me to see him. And I made eye contact with him, and I went, oh my god. I feel like famous people are never real until they're like actually there, and then I go, oh my god,
you exist. No, that's insane. I did read through the story, and I did see a lot of like really cool quotes that not like they're obviously based in his personal experience, but they speak a lot to the larger industry and the larger way art functions in society.
Yeah.
Like the one quote I really loved that he gave was that all art was community art and all art was activist, when speaking about his upbringing in Oakland and the art he created there.
Yeah.
And Oakland is such like a politically centered place, considering like, you know, the foundation of the Black Panther Party happened there.
Yeah.
So to see him say that all art was activist is inherently like built into his experience, because a lot of his art is based around that.
Yeah, I think it was a really good thing he brought up too, is because like that led into like a different part of the conversation where he was talking about how it's not even just like he's talking from personal experience, but it's not even just like him, like that's just how art is, because he doesn't necessarily, or at least like in his lifetime, he hasn't really necessarily written his political agenda into stories that he tells, but he deliberately tells the story that he does because that speaks for itself.
Right.
Like him playing, or I don't know if he ever has, but like someone playing a queer person, you kind of already can assume their politics around that. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Like, so it's
because there's a level of intention behind that action.
Yeah. So like you don't have to necessarily directly state your political beliefs or like your belief system in general, but like through the stories you tell, it'll be inherently set there. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was a really cool topic. Like I haven't really thought about it like that before. So that was like,
it's sort of like the idea that like one's presence in a space is in itself its own form of activism. Yeah,
for sure. And like just the advocacy through that, and like it doesn't always have to be, you know, something like super intense. It could just be like showing up as a character on screen in a short little episode, and it's like that's enough, you know. Like from the art community at least. Yeah.
Another thing I really appreciated reading in the article was the quote about the fact that a lot of the major things he worked on wasn't stuff he got like through industry opportunities. It was a lot of his work with friends. And I think that really speaks to a lot of people that are in college right now, because I think a lot of people are kind of looking at like the bigger picture of like, oh, I got to get this internship here, and I got to get this job here, and I got to chase this big opportunity in that one. But a lot of times, like, I guess to sum up his words, it's like your network really is the people you're already coming up with right now, because y'all are all entering at the same time. Y'all are all focused on the same things.
I genuinely, like, I'm not even trying to be a cornball and be like, no, seriously, guys, it was just so good. But like, genuinely, when he was talking about that, that completely flipped my perspective, because just recently, like, I've been so caught up, like every college student, I've been so caught up in my classes and like trying to get this internship at a certain place and like just really grinding on a lot of stuff. Like, he touched on the fact that, like, I can't remember what he said exactly, obviously, but like he basically said, like, the people that are going to be the most valuable in your network when you're older are not going to be the people who are in the positions you want right now. Your network is who's coming up with you, are the students alongside you. Yeah. That completely, like, flipped my perspective on what I've been doing the last few weeks so much. I genuinely was like, wow, bro. No, actually, wow.
It's such a different way to look at it. And I feel like it's partially because, like, the kind of idea ingrained in college is that it's all competitive. Like, you're competing against these people for everything you want.
Dude, it's so
But in reality,
weird.
It's like everyone wants the same thing, so why not have everyone help everyone else to get to the same goal?
Yeah. And, like, especially, like, I mean, not to beat a dead horse, but going into a creative field, like, I'm trying to get into the music industry, and, like, all of these creative industries kind of mirror each other in a way that it's like, okay, you have to talk... you should be talking to these people or these people who already have the positions that you want. But realistically, the people who are your age are just as valuable. And like, I genuinely just wasn't even thinking about it that way. And that was such a good thing that like how he got into Hamilton, he was talking about how it was literally a clerical error. Like, he was a substitute teacher at the time, and somehow he started like subbing a third grade class with another substitute, and that other substitute introduced him to the creator of Hamilton, and that's just how he got there. So It's just like, it really just is the people around you. And that's a crazy thing to think about. Like, he landed like a once in a lifetime opportunity because of a clerical error in substituting a third grade class. Like,
it's like a little butterfly effect.
Right.
Insane.
But yeah.
Anyone that could be on Beyond the Conversation, who would you like to speak next?
Oh, dude. Like, a million names come to mind.
Okay, pick one.
Okay, and if I'm really standing on it, Gerard Way. And what about it? And what if I said Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance?
You know what?
I want him to come talk about his life.
No, go ahead. And that's totally fine.
People don't realize he's such a multifaceted artist. I don't care. I want to hear about it. Don't care.
Don't care.
Don't care if no one else wants to hear him speak. I want to hear him speak and be on the conversation.
And so,
like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Who would you have?
Oh, you didn't have to put me on the spot like that, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Hang on, give me a second. Because, like, there are some good names that
You don't get another second, because this segment is over.
No. I
Next
guess we'll never know.
Hey Titans, it's Sarah Leone, your lifestyle editor. Tomorrow we'll be hosting Daily Titan Fest on campus. Students will have the opportunity to meet our sponsors and staff. Stay on the lookout for upcoming information about it by following us on all of our social media platforms at The Daily Titan and dailytitan.com. Thank you.
You know what?
What?
I'm electing to talk about the news right now.
I would vote for that, yeah.
Okay, cool. We're going to do it right now.
With who?
With Ruben Montoya, our managing editor. Because I'm electing to bring him on here right now.
And I'd vote for that.
Cool. Ruben, how are you?
Thank you. I will gladly accept the nomination. I'm proud.
Thank you.
I'm proud.
I'm glad to
I'm
hear
honored. Hell yeah.
Love to hear that.
Let's go.
So, another person was elected recently. I believe that to be Derek Tran to
Yes,
U.S.
sir.
Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And recently they had a ceremonial swearing-in ceremony on campus.
Yeah, that's right. That was this past Saturday. He had already been sworn in officially in Capitol in Washington, D.C. In January, early January. So it was just kind of just a ceremony with a bunch of local elected officials, people from the Vietnamese community, and of course people from Cal State Fullerton as well. He did his little swearing-in ceremony. The person that read his rights, that was Jacqueline Nguyen. She's a ninth District Court of Appeals judge, and she was the first Vietnamese person to ever occupy a seat like that as a judge.
That's sick.
Yeah, and that was there were some notable people there. There was Congressman Lou Correa who spoke as well, and yeah, it was a pretty brief event. But of course, with given like lately, like with the political landscape, there's been you can't kind of ignore the elephant in the room.
Yeah,
Right.
I saw that he really was reiterating his stance on the executive orders regarding like DEI and reiterating his support for stuff like that, and how he doesn't really think very highly of the recent executive orders, but
Yeah, he was quoted with saying that in the story that, you know, he disapproves, right? And he still kind of maintained this vibe of, you know, remaining hopeful and such. He was also quoted in the story saying that the majority for Republicans is very thin in the House, especially. So that's one point of emphasis there.
I mean, obviously, politicians will always remain vocal about what they believe in, but I don't know. It's cool to see him, like, in a very Gen Z way of saying it. Like, he's really standing on it still. Like, he hasn't really budged from what he said from the very beginning, which is, like, reassuring as, you know, a citizen to see our elected officials still very much standing with what they said from the beginning.
Yeah. Especially now, I feel like a lot of politicians kind of get their positions in office and they sort of switch up on their agenda or whatever they were campaigning on just because it might suit their desires more politically. So to see, especially for him to come back to Cal State Fullerton and to come to our campus as well, it sort of localizes his intents as well, with the fact that he's standing in front of a lot of people that elected him and the area he represents and still maintaining the values he campaigned on in this area.
It is a battleground district, and that was something that I noted because obviously we covered him in the election last year. Yeah. He only won by 653 votes, but nonetheless, you know, he's in California, Southern California, so I wouldn't see any reason for him to sort of back off of many of those like promises and as, in terms of rhetoric and such. But at the same time, you know, it's still early, so it remains to be seen on, you know, how he sort of performs in Congress, especially now with, you know, a supermajority with the Republicans in both chambers of Congress and obviously Trump in office.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you, though. If you were in Congress, what would your first move be?
First move in Congress, I'd be selfish. I'd probably give myself all of the money in the Treasury Department.
All the money in the Treasury?
All of the money.
Like,
I would make
like
myself
every cent?
What about like
what about the Daily Titan?
What about the Daily Titan? What about the education?
Oh yeah, well if I have all that money, then I could give it to all my friends. So
okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
good.
we can expect a check in the mail soon?
To be determined, to be announced.
I'll be on the lookout.
To be announced.
I'll be on the
Wow.
lookout.
We're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead and work on it. We'll see you later.
Have your people
Yes, sir.
contact my people.
Yeah.
I got you.
Right.
Keep an eye out.
You know I will.
Both will be open.
Turn off Do Not Disturb. I got
It's
you.
never on.
Never on. So I have this opinion that I thrifted
Can I have it?
at a higher price than what I once thrifted it for.
Dude, that's not cool at all.
Exactly. And that's what this opinion is about.
I just got baited.
You did, into talking about resale culture and the harmful effects of it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So who'd you thrift this opinion from?
Ashley Hernandez, a lifestyle assistant.
Wow.
And this was her first opinion piece, so shout out. But yeah, basically this was just a piece written about how unethical it is to like thrift flip essentially, and that basically just means like going into thrift shops and like intentionally buying cheap clothes to resell them at like triple or like quadruple the price online to benefit yourself, because not only does it like harm the exact industry you're targeting, like for example like sneakers, bad. Like reselling of sneakers has tanked the industry of it.
Oh, it's
Or
terrible.
maybe not industry, but the economy of that. It just destroys the purpose of thrifting. And like I was saying, it's not even, that's like a harmful factor of it. But along with that comes like, you know, thrift shops and secondhand stores were created for like lower income communities. And then it's like honestly like taking from the poor to give to the rich. It's like stupid.
No,
Like,
yeah.
just don't do that.
It was built on accessibility, and now all of those things are becoming way more inaccessible.
Exactly.
And
it's erasing accessibility in these like lower income communities, and it's just like at the end of the day, it's like I get it because it is a job, like going through and like the professor quoted in the article was saying like it is a job, like going through all of the racks and then cleaning what you find and then taking the pictures, like that is part of a job. So it is, I get that there's an extra amount of effort added to it,
Yeah.
but the story's claim is that it's all unethical in its like being.
No, yeah, because like yes, there is effort put into the curation of finding those items, but at the end of the day, that curation doesn't negate the fact that those items were never meant for curation in the first place. They were meant to be accessible. That's why they
Exactly.
ended up in a thrift store.
And it all just like more broadly just adds into this like capitalistic narrative that we're stuck in.
No,
like,
definitely.
It genuinely, even hobbies, even if thrift shopping is not a hobby, it's shopping.
Yes.
But if you want to look at it like it is a hobby, it's commodified now.
Oh, most
Everything is
definitely.
commodified. So
Everything.
it's just like you can't even shop cheaply because it's like at an expensive rate you're shopping cheaply.
And
So
it
it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and it feels like a lot of these thrift stores are trying to compete with the online market of like Depop and Grailed and Poshmark and all this stuff, because now you go back into the same thrift stores and they see the prices that their clothes are being relisted for online, and now thrift stores are upping the prices themselves. And it sucks, like, in specific, because, like, a lot of people go to thrift stores to find clothes for, like, job interviews or, like, one-time occasions. And those same clothes are being bought and resold online as, like, vintage 1950s tailored suit blazer and things like that. And it's, like, it was never meant for that. It was meant for someone who needs it for this certain scenario.
Exactly.
You know what? I think it's time to swing over to sports.
I would love to talk about some tennis right now.
Tennis sounds awesome.
Yeah.
You know what sounds awesomer?
What?
Speaking about tennis with our amazing editor-in-chief.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Hello, Emily.
Hello, I'm back to be on the Daily 10 podcast.
To talk about what exactly?
To actually talk about tennis. And
No way, I love
team?
tennis.
how Cal State Fullerton, the school in which we all attend.
No freaking way. Would that happen to be the women's tennis team, or?
Yes, we actually don't have a men's tennis team.
Oh my god.
So it's just the women. # girl power.
And that's beautiful. I
and
actually
it's-
knew that. I just set it up to emphasize that.
Because to emphasize the girl power.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really a lot of girl power this weekend because they defeated Pomona Pitzer and UC San Diego.
Oh wow.
Wow.
So they're now undefeated in conference, which I believe is something that none of our other current sports teams can say that they are.
Wow.
So
shout out
low-key tennis is up. Tennis
Shout
is
out
up.
tennis.
Up.
Girl power.
Girl freaking power.
But yeah, we had a reporter, Jacob Fisk, who's in the reporting class. He's also an assistant multimedia editor. He covered tennis this weekend. And it was good wins from them. I mean, it was their first conference win. That's a big deal. Last weekend, they lost both their games in 4-3 losses, which basically means they lost on the final point. But this Sunday morning, they swept UC San Diego.
Wow,
7-0.
congrats to them.
They got
7-0.
all 7 points. But yeah, the way like scoring works in tennis is that there's one doubles point and then there's 6 matchups like individual, like 1v1.
Okay.
So they took the doubles point first, and then sometimes like because of the way a lot of the matches go on at the same time, so sometimes not all of them are held because like say they already won 4 of the games, then even if UC San Diego wins like the next 3, like they're still gonna lose.
Doesn't
So
really matter
they
at that
get
point,
stopped.
That makes sense.
So the Titans singles number 1, which means like the number 1 of Fullerton was matched up with the number 1 of UC San Diego, basically the best player. She went the distance with the UC San Diego player, and it ended in a tiebreaker, which means that like they basically play till a final point. So it's a lot extra. Like
that
it's
sounds
free
intense.
tennis.
Wow.
But yeah, Jacob, he was there and he was saying how she had a cramp in the middle of the second set and she had to utilize a medical timeout. And you only get 1 medical timeout.
Wow.
So she had 5 minutes to kind of get it together, and then she returned to finish the match and she won.
Oh, that's impressive.
And the head coach, Ellie Johnson, she's actually in her first year as the tennis head coach. But yeah, she just was saying how she has grit and a fighting spirit, and they got the point. So, really cool stuff from CSUF women's tennis.
No, definitely.
Tusks freaking up.
In conclusion, Tusks up.
My tusks are up, personally. # girl power.
# girl power.
Me as well.
Because why would a man be there?
Why would a man be
Why
there?
would a man be there?
Why is a man here right now?
I don't know. I'll
That's
see
what
myself
I'm
out, though.
saying.
All right,
okay,
thanks for having
goodbye.
me.
Okay, bye.
All right, Titans. You don't necessarily have to go home, but you can't stay here, because this episode of DT Pod is over. But you can be sure to pick up a copy of the Daily Titan on campus, or check us out at dailytitan.com to read all of the articles mentioned and more. Thank you all for listening, and as always, week after week, if you like us, we love you.
Alright, y'all. I know what y'all are wondering. Why would a man be there? And the answer to your question is, it's because I have to do the credits. So, before I head out officially, I gotta give a big old thank you to our executive producers, Isaiah Mallari and Emily Wilson. Another big old thank you to our producer, Luis Vizcaino. A big old thank you to our assistant producers, Raniel Santos and Michelle King. Another big old thank you going out to Bijan Shoushtarizadeh for supplying the music in this episode. And a bigger thank you to everybody that tuned in for this week's episode. Make sure you catch us next week and pick up a copy of the paper. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.